Each of us is unique in our own way. However, there are some people out there with talents and features that are simply mind-blowing. While we couldn't possibly present them all in one video, we're going to show you 10 amazing people you won't believe are actually real. Some of them may be shocking, while others are simply inspiring. However, they all exist on the very same planet we do. To keep you up to date with the most amazing people on the planet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to be the first to see the latest from the Hub, turn on your notifications as well. Lois Gibson. When we watch crime shows on television, the role of the sketch artist is often taken for granted or just glossed over entirely. However, in the real world, many crimes are solved because someone saw a drawing created by a sketch artist and identified a suspect. The drawing is only as good as the artist who created it, and according to the Guinness Book of World Records, Lois Gibson is the world's most successful forensic artist. During her career, her drawings have helped identify 751 criminals. Like most superheroes whose job it is to make sure the bad guy gets caught, Gibson underwent a traumatic experience. When she was 21, she was attacked by a man who would later be convicted of murder. This terrifying experience encouraged Gibson to get into her line of work and use the power of her art for good. She claims that she finds her job rewarding and has no intention of ever laying down her pencil. Sure, art isn't as flashy of a superpower as super strength or super speed, but it certainly gets the job done. If you want to follow in her footsteps, she also teaches forensic drawing at the Institute of Forensic Art in Houston, Texas. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira. When we think of someone born with a disability, it's common to picture missing limbs or someone who needs to walk with a cane. Having an upside-down head is probably something that most of us had no idea could even happen. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira from Brazil was born with a rare condition called arthrogryposis, which causes his joints to fuse together. His limbs are deformed and he can't move them, and his head is upside down and facing the wrong way. His condition was so startling that when he was born, doctors advised his mother not to waste resources feeding him because he likely wouldn't make it. Thankfully, she didn't listen, and Claudio has come up with ways to compensate for the challenges he faces. Because of the unique shape of his body, he can't use a wheelchair and instead gets around on his knees. He actually managed to graduate from the State University of Feira de Santana and is certified as an accountant. In addition, he's also a public speaker and receives invitations to deliver his inspiring message all over the world. Claudio claims that he sees himself as a normal person despite all of the challenges he faces. Crystal Cantu. For those of us who find any possible excuse to avoid hitting the gym, the story of Crystal Cantu is humbling to say the least. Ever since she was a little girl, Crystal loved being active and competing in sports, especially softball. When she got older, she got into more extreme sports and regularly competed in Tough Mudder and Spartan Race challenges. When she wasn't exercising, she was working at her dream job until one day, tragedy struck. Crystal was involved in a car accident that resulted in the amputation of her right arm. At first, she was understandably devastated. She saw all of her dreams and her active lifestyle disappearing as she struggled to adapt to life with one arm. Even while she waited for the ambulance to come for her immediately after her accident, she agonized over missing out on the upcoming CrossFit tournament she'd signed up for. Thankfully, the accident wasn't enough to keep Crystal down, and just 1 month after her accident, she was back in the CrossFit gym. Through the sport, she has found confidence that she was afraid was gone forever. Not only does she still train, but she competes as well, inspiring people all over the world. Sarah Mappelli. Because we're beginning to feel the harsh sting of life without bees, many of us have begun to have an all-new appreciation for those pollinating insects. However, it's safe to say that none of us are quite as dedicated to bees as Sarah Mappelli. Known as the Bee Queen, she claims that her unique way of interacting with bees helps people reconnect with nature. Dancing is a wonderful way to get exercise and entertain a crowd, but it's typically done without wearing a tank top of bees. Bee Queen claims that the bees represent a sense of community and help her convey her message of oneness. She uses a bee pheromone similar to one emitted by queen bees, but much more potent. With a little bit of bee pheromone dabbed on her chest, she's ready to be covered in bees. The sensation of being covered in bees is extremely itchy and can be painful as the bees pinch her skin in order to hang on. We aren't quite sure how they compare to traditional materials, but bees can apparently get quite warm as well. Once the bees are in position, her elegant, unscripted dance of the bees begins. She's even performed her dance routine for people who are afraid of bees and claimed that she's able to help them conquer her fears through her dancing. Gabby Williams. When Gabby Williams was born, doctors immediately knew that something was the matter when her body appeared purple and limp. After spending time in the neonatal intensive care unit, where doctors noticed a whole host of problems, her family was prepared for the worst. Despite much medical testing, doctors couldn't figure out what was the matter with her. Eventually, she stabilized, and her family was overjoyed. However, she failed to develop and grow the way most children do. Her condition is so rare that it doesn't have a name, and it means that she ages much slower than normal people do. Although she's 13 years old, she still resembles a toddler and acts like one as well. Needless to say, Gabby's condition has both baffled and fascinated scientists. They believe that by studying her, they may be able to unlock some of the mysteries about how our bodies age. This could mean serious scientific advancements, and Gabby's extraordinarily rare condition could be the key. When Gabby's parents made the decision to go public about their daughter's condition, they found other cases of people afflicted with the same condition. This could further help unlock the secrets of aging and develop new ways to combat it. Daniel Tammet. At first glance, Daniel Tammet doesn't look unusual. However, appearances can be deceiving. He's actually a mathematical and linguistic genius who can speak 11 languages, has memorized pi to over 22,500 digits, and can perform complex mathematical equations in his head. Daniel is autistic and has savant syndrome, meaning that his mind works in a different way than most people's do. He explains that when he's working on an equation, it's more like he's experiencing the numbers as different shapes. When two shapes change and evolve, a third shape, the answer, becomes clear to him. It's estimated that there are under 100 savants like Daniel in the whole world, and many of them are unable to articulate their minds the way Daniel can. He's written several books about his condition, which have been published in over 20 different languages. In addition to his public speaking lectures, he also lends his incredible and unusual brain to science and works with neuroscientists who want to learn more about how his mind works. But it hasn't all been easy for him. As a child, his autism caused him to shun eye contact, act awkwardly, and be completely unable to relate to other children. While he still struggles, he believes that he has finally learned the art of communicating with others. Derek Paravicini. Derek Paravicini is also an autistic savant. However, he's much more focused on the arts than he is in mathematics. He went blind when he was a baby, and the oxygen deprivation that caused his blindness also affected his brain, leaving him with a learning disability. While he can't see, he does have the gift of absolute pitch, meaning that he can recreate music that he has heard only once before. He began playing piano at only 2 years old, and let's just say he developed a bit of enthusiasm for the instrument. So much so that when he was touring the Linden Lodge School for the Blind in London, he heard a piano being played and immediately knocked over the person playing it so he could take over. This unfortunate piano player was actually the piano instructor, Adam Oakleford, who luckily was the forgiving sort. He was only 9 years old when he played his first major concert with the Royal Philharmonic Pops Orchestra. Since then, he's had many more performances and has also released a couple of albums. Noah Wall. Accusing someone of having no brain would be an insult to most people, but it was accurate when applied to Noah Wall. Even if you're not a biology expert, you likely know that brains are generally considered essential for survival. However, Noah was born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus, which means that his brain was flooded with cerebral spinal fluid. This fluid crushed his delicate brain, leaving it a thin sliver of tissue clinging to his skull. When Noah was born, his brain function was at about 2%. The outlook was grim, but Noah's parents refused to give up on him. Now 4 years old, Noah has continued to shock people as he defies the doctor's predictions regarding his health and development. His brain has developed beyond all expectations, and his family has gone from planning his funeral to planning the start of his school year. Surgeons installed a shunt into his skull to drain the excess fluid, and Noah's brain grew into the space once filled up with fluid. At this point, his brain function is close to that of an average 4-year-old child, and he's learning to read, write, and count. Sultan Kosin. There have been many people who've made it into the Guinness Book of World Records for being tall, but the current tallest man in the world is Sultan Kosin. Due to a tumor that is affecting his pituitary gland, he's grown to 8 feet 3 inches tall. Being so tall has been quite the burden for Sultan, who was unable to complete his education due to difficulties stemming from his size. To prevent him from growing even taller, he underwent treatment for his pituitary tumor involving a gamma knife. This means that high-intensity cobalt radiation was used, concentrating the radiation to a small area. By combining this with hormonal medication, Sultan's growth has finally stopped. In addition to his intimidating height, he also holds the record for having the largest hands of any living person, as each one measures 28.5 inches from wrist to middle finger. While many things we take for granted, such as driving a car or buying jeans at the mall, are impossible for Sultan, he recently achieved one of his dreams by getting married. He wed his 5'9" girlfriend Merve Debo in a beautiful ceremony in Mardin, Turkey. To ensure he was appropriately attired, a custom suit was made out of nearly 20 feet of fabric. Elisani de Cruz Silva. She might not be as tall as Sultan, but Elisani de Cruz Silva is another incredibly tall person who recently found love. Hailing from Salinopolis, Brazil, Elisani suffers from a form of gigantism caused by a tumor on her pituitary gland. The tumor was removed, but not before she reached an astonishing 6 foot 9 inches in height. Even though she's a model, finding a suitable partner seemed to be a tall order until she met Francinaldo de Silva Carvalho. Her boyfriend may be over a foot shorter than her, as he stands at 5 feet 4 inches tall, but that doesn't seem to matter to the happy couple. And yes, when he proposed, he got down on one knee, even though she had to bend down to kiss him afterwards. Sadly, not everyone is able to see past Elisani's unusual height, and she admits that she left school due to the constant bullying she endured from her peers. However, she seems to be much happier now, and is excited to marry Francinaldo and start a family. Her gigantism may make conceiving difficult, but Elisani has stated that she's also open to adoption. Sometimes we like to explore the ocean, the jungle, or the farthest reaches of space looking for new and exciting things. However, sometimes our fellow humans can be just as fascinating and interesting. Before you go, check out some more videos about incredible people right here on the Hub. Don't forget to like our video and join our notification squad as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.